the colors you see there, obviously the blue is showing the proposed right of way of the road. So the actual asphalt would be pretty much centered inside that. The light blue that you see in the upper and lower corner represent 100-year floodplain of the different creeks. And I think I saw some green in there that showed a small pond. Right here is the, I'll say at least one idea for the intersection of Ebenezer Church with the bypass. And you can see how we're keeping the ability for continuous flow on Lester Road and terminating Ebenezer Church at the bypass. And obviously there's some, pretty substantial impacts to 2 or 3 homes right in that area.
What would happen to the other section of Lester over there that now exists? Would it remain as a local cul-de-sac, or?
I think that was the intent, because we would keep that in order to maintain access to a few properties in there. That would just be a small cul-de-sac road. To me, this location is a good example of, we can only carry the evaluation so far at this concept stage. This is the type of thing I think from between here and preliminary could be studied a lot more. You talk to the property owners in the area, look a little bit more at topography, and at that 30% completion stage, we would be able to say this is precisely what we're recommending. That lime green represents what we believe is a very conservative estimate of a new bridge. It's based pretty much just on the limits of floodplain and some of the topography data.
Do you contemplate that is a completely replacing that bridge, or are you just talking about upgrading?
I'm using the term rehabilitate and or replace, but it's going to be a replacement. I don't imagine they'd be able to repair it. Now, it's not highlighted, but you can see the parallel white lines kind of heading in a diagonal direction. That's Redwine Road. I don't know if all of you can see the little cursor Carlos is moving. And then the existing intersection of Ebenezer Church comes in at that skewed angle. What we're showing here is a jog in the proposed bypass in order to come in at as near 90-degree intersection as possible. I think I'm a fan of roundabouts. That is a potential roundabout in my eyes, and if it is, it gives us more flexibility with the geometry where we can avoid maybe that awkward skew.
So the offset that's proposed there is primarily for road angle alignment, as opposed to lining up the bridge, say, on the other side?
They both play factors. That area in Perry Creek right there that you see, and the area immediately to the north of it is the Haddonstone subdivision. Help you get your bearings a little bit.
Is that road, is that an optical illusion, or is that really a curved bridge?
It's a curved bridge. Okay. But until we go out there and get some survey information showing the extent of floodplain, the extent of wetlands, this is a best guess showing the approximate location. That's an area that will definitely be tweaked as you get some field data. Now you can see in the middle of the screen running left-right is Harp Road. And we're right in the middle of those agricultural tracts that I mentioned. Some of the issues here obviously are what the property owner's long-term intent is for that land. To the right or east, you get into some grading issues or topography as well as the ponds. Exactly where that road best fits in there I think is something that we would look at quite a bit and get reaction to. I think I mentioned or meant to that there also be a public input or public outreach component between now and that preliminary. So there'll be a lot of factors going in to see the best way to align that or to position that road. I mean, you may move it far to the west, may go further east, or possibly remain right in the middle. The connection with Harp Road is very similar to what we talked about between Lester and Ebenezer, in that you would maintain continuous flow in the bypass and bring Harp into the bypass that would probably be just a stop controlled intersection. That's all I have in terms of the prepared presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
I know we've several times had conversations with DOT about a red light at Hart and 85. And thus far, they have rebuffed our efforts to put one there. Is your anticipation that the termination of this project into there would warrant a signalization of that intersection?
Yes, that's sure the anticipation. We are moving forward with intersection improvements at Harp and 85 in a project independent of this one. Because we cannot get a signal warranted by DOT, we're designing it to add turn lanes or whatever we can do right now for safety improvements. But we're going to design it in a way that once a signal is approved, it can be installed with minimal cost or disruption to the asphalt.
If I understand your request, you're asking us to approve the conceptual alignment, which in effect will result in you doing the 30% engineering work to determine exactly where the road would go and the feasibility of putting it there, as well as the cost. So
yeah.
If we approve the conceptual alignment and you go out there, you're not going to take a bulldozer with you.
No, this in eyes just begins the process.
The posted speed limits on the current roads that you were planning on doing, are they current to what would be on the bypass 45, or is there any that you'd be changing from, say, a 25 to a 45?
Currently 35.
Yeah, I think
Currently 35, I believe.
Lester's
That's the road.
So we'd be moving a 35 to basically a 45.
yes.
Gentlemen, any other questions? Thank you. Gentlemen, you've got a recommendation from staff, engineering department to conceptual alignment, asking us to adopt it so they can do the further study to determine feasibility and cost estimates. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation for the conceptual alignment of the transportation project R28B of the Phase 3 West Fayetteville Bypass, and authorization to proceed with engaging in design and engineering for developing the study and preliminary design and a cost estimate.
Second. You have motion second. Discussion.
Jack, you brought up the fact that we've got an elementary school and we've got a middle school up there. And I think it's incumbent upon the design of this to include either a bridge or a tunnel there. And you mentioned utility, and you can certainly do a study and stuff like that. Of course, this board, we talked about the Gateway Bridge to Peachtree City, and that's the exact same argument that we put forward. We needed that information before this board was willing to authorize the expenditure of, my recollection, $1.4 million, something like that. And that would simply be moving golf carts from the north side of the road to the south side of the road that they've already got access. And I want to, while we didn't discuss it, I would say that I certainly don't see any utility in that bridge at this time, particularly with those studies. However, that being said, you've got a completely different situation here. And that is that I don't know how many lots are in those subdivisions that are on the west side of the road or in water lakes, but you've got a substantial number of families that have young children, and I'm talking about elementary school age and middle school age, And these children are going to cross the road one way or the other. And if you don't provide them with a bridge or a tunnel, then some family is going to be devastated at some point. You know, that's the nature of children. If you've got 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds and bicycles and stuff like that, you've got to give a safe, ability to cross the road. And when I say cross, either above it or below it. And my desire on this, on the design aspect of it, Phil, is that you've got to include that kind of aspect with this if you're going to do that. I drive this road on a routine basis. I know what the cars drive on it at this point, and I've not gone out there and done any studies. I'm sure the sheriff's office has, and they can give us how fast the cars are going out there already. And I haven't found a road yet that the posted speed limit is the average speed that the cars are traveling. So if the speed limit's 35, then the cars are probably traveling already at 45 out there. But with 2 schools, and particularly an elementary school, you've got to have the ability to let both of those subdivisions, or all of those subdivisions that are on the west side of the road, have access to those, because that's where the kids are going to go. Play in the playgrounds, go to school, with the moms and dads walking their kids to school and stuff like that. So I don't know whether that is included in the SPLOST money or if that's general fund money. But if it's not SPLOST money, the general fund money needs to be used to put a road at this, put a bridge or a tunnel at the same time that this is going to be done. There's no question in my mind, based on phase 1, that phase 3 of Veterans Parkway is going to be going by those schools. And, there's going to be some arguments and changes and tweaks on the southern portion of this, but at least the portion that's going past the schools, you've got to have that. And so, while I'm going to support the motion and everything, it's with my strong desire. I won't have any control over it after tonight, but it's my strong desire that any design includes some way across that road that's not at grade. Crosswalks won't do it. I don't want my fingerprint on it if it doesn't have an off-grade crossing.
Yeah, Tom.
I'll be here, so I'll agree with Eric that it needs to be part of the study. And I don't know if you can hear me or not, like most folks out here now, have a little problem with their throats. Like that.
There's no other comments, I'll call for questions. Read the motion, please.
Commissioner Horgan made a motion to accept staff's recommendation for concept alignment for transportation project R28B, known as Phase 3 of the West Fayetteville Bypass, and authorization to proceed with engaging a design engineer to develop a traffic study, a preliminary roadway design, schedule, and cost estimate. Commissioner Frady seconded the motion.
You vote for the motion, read, signify by saying aye.